Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the PM podcast today. We had a podcast earlier this morning with Wheeling Central Catholic's head coach, Todd Cover. And tonight we have special guest, Chris Leasure, Monroe Central baseball coach. How you doing, Coach? How's the weather?
Doing good, man. It's wet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it hasn't stopped. I was just hoping to get through it without anything severe, and we had a tornado go through Bellsville, I think 2 weeks ago. We just don't want to see any more of that happen. So we can get by with some rain, but everything else if it can stay at bay, we'll be all right.
Absolutely. So I'm not too familiar with you. Like I said, this is new for me as well. So I'm introducing myself to coaches in the Ohio Valley, in the OVAC conference. So give me an introduction. Who is Coach Leasure?
Okay, so obviously the name's Chris Leasure. I graduated from Monroe Central, which is where I'm coaching now, obviously, in 2006. We were one of two teams in 05 and 06 to ever make the district championship. We got bounced both times, once 2005 against Garraway, and then 2006 against Tusky Valley. The IVC teams always seem to have gotten us whenever we got that deep. Graduated, like I said, in 2006. Went on to play baseball at Bethany College. Was there from spring of 2007 until, this is kind of embarrassing, but the spring of 2012 is when I graduated. So I enjoyed my first 5 years, but I could never figure out what major I wanted. And I went in with a gen ed concept, and they were like, just take a couple classes and see what sticks. I took something for sports management. I said, I could do this. Yeah. Then we got into macro and micro. I said, no, I'm going to pass on that. I said, let me try psychology. And then I just didn't mesh with those professors all too great. No, my professor, one guy was awesome. He said, I don't care when you come to class or what you do, as long as you pass the test. And I said, I could do that. So that's what I did. I ended up getting an A, and I don't think I went to – it was an 8 a.m. class, and I don't think I went there maybe 5-6 times. It was just for tests. And I had a good classmate to help me out with notes. Then I finally settled for physical education. That was probably the best choice I could have ever made, because I was halfway through with classes from sports management, because it was how they had it up at Bethany. Everything was I already had my psych class. I already had a couple classes that I needed for PE. So I said, well, let's do that. So I fell into phys ed and kind of fell in love with it. And I actually didn't use that degree until this past year. I've been out of school since 2012. And I never used my degree once. Now, maybe it helped me on a resume here and there, but I don't know. I sold insurance for 8 years, so I know it didn't help there, because we hire anybody. As long as they're coachable, and it was usually ex-athletes we would hire, but guys that would hustle. But I'm actually the head phys ed teacher at Fox Run now, which is a children's hospital. Well, hospital for children who have gone through it. We'll put it that way. And
nice.
It's a unique situation. Some of them don't have legal guardians. Some of them are their guardian's estate, their caseworker, whatever. But it's an awesome gig, and it is rewarding. I thought coaching was great, and then I've got stories, but everybody has a bad day. They just have more of them. Yeah. And that's where you gotta reset every day with those little kids. And now,
how did you get involved with that? Like, how did you? That's awesome that you do that. So, like, how would somebody get involved with that?
So back to Bethany, I ended up leaving Bethany with a ton of ties, and one of them I never went to school with them, but we were both part of the baseball program, and I played in the OVBL, which is a wood bat league, and I don't know if you're familiar with it or not.
I've heard a little bit about it.
But back when I played, there was probably 10 or 12 teams, and I played with a guy named Matt King. Okay. And Matt's boys and his kids they attend St. Clairsville schools. I'll be honest, I put it on Facebook. I said, I need a change of pace. I kind of want to tackle something with my degree. However, the money has to be right. That was almost to the word, to the T of what, what I put on the post. I got a text message from him probably 5 minutes later. And he was like, hey, we got a position opening. Why don't you come in? We'll just talk about it. So I went over to the office, got to meet everybody, kind of got the MO of what they wanted. They liked the ex-athletes or coaches, current coaches, folks that, they've been through it. They've failed plenty of times and they just never gave up. And that's what you always want with an athlete, especially a baseball player or a wrestler, because we have a lot of wrestling coaches over there.
Okay.
One's a real grueling physical sport, and the other one is a mentally grueling sport. And I'd venture to say wrestling is too. I never did it, but I did it for 1 year in third grade and had enough of it. But just had a talk with him, and everything kind of fell in place. I was in a different position at the beginning of the year, and in the third 9 weeks, I got the lead job there for phys ed, and I love it. It's just I don't feel like I go to work at all, and then I leave for a couple periods a day and go to the Belmont Career Center, where I work with the JVS, the vocational school kids.
Yeah.
And man, they're even more fun. I mean, we got to get a filter on a couple of them, but
you really don't work 3 jobs. You're enjoying it all day.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I thoroughly enjoy it. And the only bad part is I don't get a summer break, but they pay us on top of what we get paid, so it is what it is. I'll be there. Right. Yeah, I'll be there. So, but but I finished up there at Bethany in 2012. Left my mark there pretty good. I think I know there was guys that were more productive than me in the PAC at the time I was there. Actually, I think it was loaded. W&J was great. Teal was coming on. Westminster was up and down. And we had Thomas More. And that was like on the verge of Grove City, just getting as good as they are now. Now, Thomas More was a bunch of Division II players, or they were NAIA or Division II, them in Geneva. So the first 2 years we played them guys, man, it was just good ball to play. And we didn't have the talent to match them, but I always thought, all right, I get a chance to face D2 pitchers in the summer. The guys from West Lib and the guys that go down to Barton and Maynard to play. Yeah. That's cool. But that's summer ball. These guys are in peak shape. They're still on scholarship, so that means something to them. And I got to face them and did some yard work, which was good. And I got corkscrewed into the ground a couple times. But I always thought to myself,
I got a great video for you here. We're going to pull it up here. Let's see if it'll work.
Hopefully it's nothing from Eric Hayden.
No, nothing from Eric Hayden.
He struck me out a couple times, but I got him a couple times. We played one season at Bethany together, and he's a good dude.
I'm trying to get this thing to work. Oh, here it is. Boom. I mean, if you got a swing like that, you're taking the cover off the ball there.
Well, I don't know about all that, but according to that was actually turned into a pretty good gag here. Is that off of Twitter?
Yeah, that's off of Twitter.
Yeah, I got the King of JUCO to get a little bit of traffic there. I thought that was hilarious. My boys did too. We actually he mentioned I couldn't touch 90, so he set our junior hack up at about, I don't know, it was probably 65, 70, whatever it goes. We don't know. But I figured it. I did it. Pulled up the equivalents online. It said 65 from 40 feet was equivalent to like 95.
Yeah.
And I said, all right. So I watched a couple and I'm like, oh, I'm going to hit this. And I did.
There you go.
And the boys are kind of looking at me like, hey, you definitely just did that. I said, I'm not going to get showed up by some dude on the internet and not have a case back. But yeah, that was a good fun. That was early in the season too. So, I mean, that was when we were in preseason. So they all got a pretty good kick out of that.
Yeah. Me and my son, we actually enjoy King of JUCO and his the Bat Brothers. We always enjoy those guys' videos, definitely on TikTok and all that. So let's just dump in. How long have you been coaching at Monroe Central now?
So I've been here since 2018. I took, after I graduated in 2012 in college, I coached a year at Bethany as a student. In 2012, I coached as a student assistant. In 2011 as a student assistant. Opted not to go back and do it in 2012, just because it was time to go. It was time to, I loaded up with 18 credit hours, retook some classes because I had to take something in the spring. And I just stayed, and I brought my GPA up just so it was a little more favorable. But I left. I chased money. I worked in the oil field. I kind of just eliminated baseball from my life completely after 2013. Played that last year in the OBBL, and I'm like, you know what? It's not the same. I need to step away from it. So that's what I did. Yeah. And in 2018, my oldest was born, and I thought there was a coaching change. So I called who I thought was the coach, and I'm like, hey, do you need any help this year? I said, I'm going to be limited, but I'd love to help, because I watched it, and I just watched the program just completely dissolve. It was not in good shape. Yeah. And the guy that I called, it wasn't him, but it was fortunate enough to be Troy Baker. And Troy was like, yeah, if you want to come in and help, absolutely. Because at the time he was coaching 3 sports, girls volleyball, volleyball team, girls basketball, and then right into the spring, he had a couple grandkids on the way in. So he wanted to have some time, where he could alleviate or, just basically be the head coach and kind of let us do the work. And myself and another alumni stepped in 2018. In 19, we were both assistants. And then in 2020 was I had a job change where I could be there every day. And that was when all my seniors now were freshmen. Okay. Or I'm sorry. No, that was last year's class. But that was last year's graduating class, was the COVID class. Those guys, they just, in 2020, I kind of took over as, hey, this is what I've seen the last couple of years. Let's kind of try to, mesh this in. Let's have a little more order at practice. Let's do these things. And he let me have the reins. Season got canceled. 21, it was, I wouldn't want to say I ran the show, because I didn't make all the final decisions, but heavily favored in a lot of things that we did as far as at practice and practicing situations and things like that. And then I took over as head coach in 22. So this is my 3rd season as head coach, 18 to 24. So what is that? 7 years in the program now.
Yeah. Nice. So last year you finished probably not where you wanted to. It looks like 8-16. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I got that off a Game Changer. So 8-16 record. However, you did make a little push there at the end. You beat Steubenville Catholic Central in round 1, which they were a higher ranked team. I think they only had like 1 loss last year going into the playoffs, and then you lost to Strasburg Franklin 3-2. How did you get your guys on board to come through to start 2024 and kind of like regroup them and get them going for 2024 to kind of get better for 2024?
Yeah. So last year, the record's kind of deceiving. So we went 8-16, that's black and white. Yeah. There's nothing there. There were 6 games we lost by 1 or by 2 runs. I want to say there was 5 games by 1 run and 2 games by 2 runs.
Oh, wow.
That we lost. We also left on base. If you dig in that Game Changer, you 172 kids on base.
172 left on.
Now this is another fun fact. We stole 96 bags and scored 92 runs.
Wow.
So we just never came up with a timely hit. And I actually did our assistant coach, who's the head basketball coach, Mason Lang, he asked me, he said, what do you think will change this year? I said, luck. I said, There's no way. I mean, I don't know how many times last year we left the bases loaded or guys on second, third, we just wouldn't catch in. We'd roll over on one, get a weak ground ball, or somebody pop up or something like that. Or we'd hit an atom bomb, we'd hit it right at them. And that's what I told him. I said, there's just no way we can be that consistently unlucky again.
Yeah.
And so far we haven't been.
Right.
But coming into 24, the boys did it on their own. I would be at practice. I'd be at football games in the fall, and they're like, hey, are we doing fall ball? Because we used to go down to a Marietta League, and same place Caldwell Buckeye Trail goes to.
Okay. What's the name of that league?
The Mid-Ohio Valley Fall Ball, I think is what it is. Decent little league. You get a change of pace because you get 2 or 3 teams from Parkersburg High School.
Okay.
You get Parkersburg South. Tyler they have some of their guys that aren't on travel ball teams or playing football. They go up there and play. They fill in with Ritchie County, which is down in West Virginia. They're not OVAC teams. Used to be.
Okay.
Tyler used to be, but they're not now. But there's some guys that come up through there, and Caldwell sends a pretty good batch of kids down there. They got a pretty athletic team this year. Yeah. Buckeye Trail's big. Their players were all down there, young guys. And you see some familiar coaches, so you're only getting 6 guys from each school that are down there. And then we take every freshman that wants to play. And I go down there and I watch my upperclassmen that come down, they just watch their heads spin. They're like, man, all right, our hands are full with these guys for sure.
Right.
Because as much as it is, the coaching staff, and I've got myself and 5 others on the coaching staff. Granted, that's not what it is every day, but that's why we have a big staff of just trusted guys. The kids coach each other too, and it makes it fun, and that it kind of forms a bit of accountability as well. I let our senior outfielder, I let him lead a lot, and there's a couple of juniors that'll step up with him as well. And we've had a freshman this year that's, they made him, hey, jump these guys. You're up here. You're going to lead with us. They instructed him how to lead. He's a very quiet kid. He's a dynamite player. So all the younger guys are trying to aspire to be, like him. But crap, I can't. So they were asking me about fall ball. They're in football season. I told them we're probably not going to have a team this year because I didn't have the time because I just started that other job and was just getting used to it, the job I currently have. Then we got to about week 8 or 9. I had boys like, Coach, we're going to start working out. We're going to start lifting. I said, yes, we will start lifting. Here's the thing. We go in there and start lifting now. You're going to get burnt out and seeing me. All right. I said, if you want to lift, there's a gym uptown. The owner will cut you a deal because you're a student. Go up there. And I said, I'll send you everything you need. And then whenever you do start with me, you're not limping through it because that's generally what happens. And then about the beginning of December is whenever I just had enough of them asking me. And I said, all right, let's go. So we started in December. I think we had 8 or 9 guys showing up consistently. We got kids that work, we got kids that were playing basketball. I think we had.
Yeah, your basketball team did pretty well this year until they met Highland.
Yeah, well, we got out muscled. And like I said, the head basketball coach is on our staff, so I give them a little jab. They were in there working out, and I said, you guys better be in here because you guys got out muscled by Highland. So and they didn't think it was funny. I did.
Always comes down to Highland.
Yeah, I just like busting their chops. It's a great group of kids. We've got 11 kids, both sports, and the jabs from head coach to head coach are always good. They're classy too. They're funny. Yeah. But we get after each other, and of course, he had plenty to throw back in my face this year since his first year was far more successful than mine. But that's okay.
Well, I didn't mean to start looking off at my phone while you were talking. I was on Game Changer. You left yourself short. You actually had 178 players left on base last year.
Oh, yeah, 178, even better.
Yeah,
even better.
So, let's jump into 2024 here. I'm looking at, bring it up on the screen here. we are looking at the Ohio Valley standings right now as it stands right now, according to Monday. You're 2-2 on the season. What are your expectations for the rest of the season? Do you plan on having, some success here to jump in the top 4 to play for the OVACs?
Yeah, I 100% believe. I mean, that's been the goal since we started. A couple of our seniors came up to me and they just said, no matter what, before we get to sectionals, we got to have OVACs. And I said, okay. I was like, do you want to appear in the OVACs or do you want to win them? And I said, well, we want to win them. I said, okay, you got to go through Toronto twice and at least through the season, because we're supposed to play them tomorrow, and they're going to be, they're going to be in that spot regardless. Brian Perkins does a great job with those guys. But I also told them, I said, you're going to have to get through, these other teams that we're going to play anyway. Caldwell. Yeah. We don't play Southern. They're one. I don't know who they beat. They obviously beat a bigger team. Yeah, a big team. But I don't know much about them. One game doesn't tell a whole season.
No.
But we try to see who the other one is.
I'm looking it up for you. Maybe
Shady Side's ranked ahead of us, but we beat them. We beat them in a good 2-1 ball game.
Nice.
And they're a decent little team. They're young. They have a couple good pitchers. The walk boy actually dislocated his finger at our place, and talk about. I mean, that was just disgusting to see. That he was all smiles, and I said, he must be all right. We gave him a bag of ice, and I guess he had it reset the next day, but I don't know how long he'll be out. Stottlemyre boy throws pretty good. The Collins boy throws pretty good. Can't quite remember who they threw at us. A little off-speed guy, and we finally got to him a little later in the game, but not a whole lot of velo, just to kind of set us up for Buckeye Local, because Buckeye Local did the same thing with a lefty that, he stumbled us last year, and we hit them pretty well. That was probably the better game of the 4 that we played, was our Buckeye Local game.
Buckeye Local got Highland this Saturday. For a doubleheader, I think. So I might try and jump down there if my travel stuff gets canceled. I might go and catch that game.
That'll be a good test for them. Buckeye Local's they're in a weird spot. They're a big school, but they lose a lot of their athletes, to the other neighboring schools potentially, just by their location and where they're at. And Jeff does a pretty good job down there with them, Jeff Patrick. They always come ready to play. They'll play for him, which is always good to see. And the kids don't have any quit in them. That was the first time we beat them in a couple of years. We've lost a couple 1-run, 2-run ball games to them over the past 2 years, and won 5-0 last year. And so it was good to finally get that monkey off our back, to finally beat them.
Yeah.
But because I'm a good buddy of George Lawson. If you don't know him, he used to coach at Buckeye, and he said, you got to get him. You got to get him for me. I said, I'll do my best.
Yeah.
I owe him 4 steak dinners at Outback so far, but he owes me one now. So
yeah, you're pretty good friends with Richie Crow down here in Toronto too, aren't you?
Richie's a great guy. Great guy. Yeah, I he was up at Bethany as well. Every time we play Toronto, what stinks for me is I'll go over there and I'll start talking a little bit, but that's the only time I get to see Richie anymore, that since college, but he's a great guy. They always have good things to say about where the programs came from and where it's moving forward to. So, and I like watching those guys too. I mean, it's a good team to play, great team to play, not to mimic, because not everybody, you're not always going to have the same type of players, but just to see it and how it's ran and how they operate, it's just something that's where we want Monroe Central to be eventually.
Yeah.
But we got a ways to go, so we're a small school, and if they're in, fall sport, if they're in football, they play football. If they're in basketball, they're playing basketball. And once they're in baseball, they're playing baseball. We don't ask them to cross over during season or anything like that. Right. Wish some of them would, because they have the ability to. The workload's the workload, but I'm not asking you to come in and throw pull downs afterwards, but I would like to see some of our basketball guys swing over to the auxiliary gym and maybe just play some catch.
Yeah.
That way they come in and their arms aren't dragging by week 2. But
yeah,
we're working through it.
I hate that I'm not able to do the Toronto staff this year just because, with the travel teams and sorry, my daughter's trying to get
That's all right.
in. I've got 3 travel teams, and then my daughter plays softball, and then my son plays on the junior high team. So, my schedule is packed up. But the last 2 years with the runs that we've made have been fun. They've been great. I've learned a lot from Coach Perkins. I learned a lot from Coach Crow, Coach Cheetalk, Coach Penner. It's a good group of guys. So, you want to mold yourself after that organization for sure. And I try to take that to my travel teams as well to teach them that style of philosophy and things like that. So I hate that I'm not with them guys. They're about to leave to go to Chillicothe this weekend for PBR. So good luck to them guys.
For sure. But yeah, as far as like the 2024 schedule, I mean, we did beef it up, and in the sense of divisions, we primarily play Division III schools this year. Okay. If we're in there, and you look at it, but we also added Tri-Valley for the last game of the season. When I added Tri-Valley, I understood that they were a Division II team, but come to find out they're a Division I team. So, yeah, I was okay with Division II because we would play. I told Jamal Lowry out of Cambridge, I said, I would come and play you in a heartbeat if I had a guy that I knew could, come out and shut you down. Yeah. And he's like, well, you're not going to play me because you don't have a pitcher? I said, exactly. Because the last time we didn't have a pitcher, I watched that. That was the year they went to state Final Fours. And maybe I sound like a coward saying that, but I'm not going to put our boys through that, Right. And they went out. We threw a freshman or sophomore. I can't remember. I think he was a freshman. We threw him. He went all 5 innings, gave up. We were kind of out of arms. This was before I got in there, so we didn't have everybody, ready to rock. 18 hits. He walked 2. Both of them scored. And I think he'd given up 16 runs and 0 errors. They hit the ball at the Diamond Classic at Barnesville. I mean, I don't know how many they hit out, but they were gap to gap off the. I mean, over at Barnesville, if you're lining up at home plate, straight ahead is another backstop.
Yep.
I don't know how many they painted off that backstop. And I'm just sitting there. I looked at our head coach at the time, and I said, well, Jake's getting baptized here because these guys are the real deal. And I remember taking Jamal's hand after, and I said, buddy, you're going to have fun with this run because that's a talented team. And he didn't get hit like that at all year. So I didn't. That was one of my things. I'm like, man, I don't really want to do that to any other guy. I didn't want to do it to him. But I mean, he wore it, and he was our ace last year. He did pitched really well as a senior, and he did good as a junior as well. But I don't know if that ever helped him, but I don't know. I don't think it hurt him.
Yeah, it had to have helped him because, I mean, you either figure it out or you don't. So I'm looking here. You got Toronto tomorrow, and then you got Barnesville, River, and then the next week you got Shenandoah, Buckeye Trail, Shady Side, and then 2 at Buckeye Local. And then, like you said, you got at Barnesville again later on, at Union Local. You got 2 against Ferry. I just talked to their coach the other day. We had a podcast together. And then Harrison Central, Tri-Valley. So, yeah, and listen, I appreciate coaches that, sometimes understand that you may not be as talented as what you want to be, but you're going to challenge your kids to a higher level schedule. If you just play down, you're never going to see what it's like to be battle tested. So I appreciate what you're doing with playing Division III teams like that and challenging your team to, Division I team Tri-Valley. I mean, it only gets you better, in my opinion. So kudos to you for that, Coach.
Yep. That's the plan. That's the plan.
So with your roster, would you say that you're pretty much senior and junior loaded, or do you have a lot of underclassmen that are going to see a lot of playing time this year? So
we have 4 seniors in this group. One is I'll put it this way: 3 of them are everyday starters. Our catcher is a 4-year senior. Our center fielders, I'm sorry, 4-year starter at catcher.
Okay.
Our center fielder is a 4-year starter in the outfield. Year 2 in center. Does a great job. He's kicked the ball a couple times this year, but we didn't have to tell him. He was already, he was already fired up. Yeah. And our ace is a senior, not Lane Demchek, and he's not gonna blow you away on the mound, but I mean, he makes the ball move in every way, and he can keep you off balance. I thought he would have fared well against Toronto last year, but they fouled off. I think one kid fouled the leadoff, the center fielder. I can't remember. I think he went to Davis and Elkins maybe to play. Was it Sloan?
Yeah, Sloan Raw.
Yeah,
Sloan. Yeah. Why am I drawing a blank on his last name though? I'll figure it out later.
I got you.
Yeah, Sloan.
But man, I think he had a 10 or 12 pitch at bat to lead off the game, and he fouled off 6 or 7 pitches. And I think it just got in his head like, okay, I don't know if I got to put away for these guys, but I'm just going to chuck it up there. And you guys hit us good last year, but we hit Blake all right. We just never cashed in. I think we had times to score most of the game, but we just didn't get the hit, and that snowballed. And then Dylan Laundefeld is he's not on the bench anymore. He's actually our full-time DH. But that young man is the ultimate teammate. And I've said that in all of my I love all my seniors, don't get me wrong on that. But Dylan is just it's yes, sir, no, yes, sir, no, sir. What can I do for the team? If I need to sit today, if that's what's best, I'll sit. I'm going to be mad about it, but if that's what's best for the team, I'll do that. But if I need to be in the lineup, I'm going to give you 110%. And he's been like that since he got with us. He started playing as a sophomore, so he's been with us as long as we've been the head staff, And he's a good kid. His little brother plays on us too. He got a couple shots early. He actually took the DH spot from his older brother. And then we got into the season, and it's like everything he was doing in the scrimmages, he kind of forgot. And I'm like, okay, we'll go back to your brother then. He gets it. And then our juniors, we have a junior first baseman. He's been playing for us on and off, and getting time the last 2 years as a freshman and sophomore. Ton of pop in his bat. He's just never really put it together. And he's a good little pitcher, never really put it together. He was a good outfielder, never really put it together. And he came in there in December in the weight room, and he said, I'm going to play this year, and I'm not going to sit a single game out. And I said, okay. I just need you to hit the ball. And that doesn't mean hit it through the gap or hit it through the wall every time. I just need you swinging it. And he's doing a good job. That's Ryder Muntz. Austin Bettinger is our number 2, but he's pitched like our number 1. His first 2 starts, he's thrown pretty well. He's a little wild in game 1, but his second game, he pitched against Buckeye Local, gave us 4 2/3. It's still early, so I'm not running him up a huge pitch count. I think he was at 75 pitches, which that was even kind of testing me there. And we went ahead and pulled him out and finished it up with relief. But he did a good job. He actually worked with Mike Grady through the off season up at the top velocity. Yeah. And man, what made a huge difference. He gained plenty of velocity, but he learned how to locate his fastball, and he learned that he throws a cutter 24/7. So
there you go.
Now I've stood in on him, and I told him, I said, I don't think you cut that one, but some of them might come in flat every once in a while, but he's a good kid, hard-nosed kid, hard worker, and he's bullheaded. And there's times we got to talk him down, but he comes in, he's a heck of a competitor, and that's what we want on the mound. And
absolutely,
and he goes out and gives it all.
I had the opportunity at the coaches clinic last year to talk with Mike Grady, because we had a couple of guys go there. And as coaches, we're always trying to pick somebody's brain to get another advantage in your program. So what they do up there in Canton is pretty impressive with the velocity that you see in 3-month span with these guys that go up there. So
it's a huge difference. We have 4 sophomores on the team. 3 of them were everyday starters last year. So they kind of got baptized as freshmen. And they're still learning because one boy was playing third base last year. He had the arm but didn't have the feet to go to short. So he played third base, and the other one played second. Well, now the boy that got quicker at third, which is Mason Laundefeld, and we moved him to short, and he's doing a heck of a job over there. Well, the kid at second developed more arm strength and a little better feet, so we moved him over to third, which is Caleb Griffith. And so they got game time experience, but they're also playing in different positions now. Going from third to short, I don't think as big of an adjustment, but maybe from second to third, the ball gets on you a little quicker.
Yeah,
down at third base. Caden Silva was our starting left fielder. He's now our starting right fielder. He's had a few hiccups out there this year. He's not the only one. For whatever reason, left field's been giving us fits, so we're moving a freshman over there. But those guys, they're going to be that's our I would say that's our core is with that sophomore group, because they're a lot like this senior group that we have. They're playing, they're all the 2 of them are infielders, and then one's an outfielder. Well, they can kind of just fill in the roles that are necessary once these guys leave, because the junior class only has 1 kid in the infield. The other guys are all pitchers or they play in the outfield, and these guys will kind of just fill into that role. And I think that's where the catalyst is. Now, our freshman group is huge. I believe we have 11 or 12.
Oh, nice.
I can't remember. We added our foreign exchange student, which I was never more excited to hear our foreign exchange student's name, which was Juan Fernandez. Immediately thought baseball name, baseball guy. And I found out he's from Spain and never played baseball a day in his life. Unbelievable soccer player. He can kick the heck out of a football. Pretty good European basketball player. Not a big fan of contact. Didn't fare well there, but they don't let them touch each other over, in Europe. So there's no real hand checking or anything. But he's a heck of an athlete. Yeah. And the first day he came in, picked up a bat, and I'll be darned if he didn't hit 4 of them off the back wall. I said, "You'll be fine, Juan. When I give you this." When I give you this, that means it's time to switch. He said, "I got you." So, all right, we'll see you then. We'll catch you down. We'll catch you on T work. So he's a good kid. Our main freshmen, and I wouldn't even want to say the main ones, but the ones that have really stood out so far this year is that have had the little bit of varsity time, or they put work in, through the off season. We had 4 freshmen come in, which was Colton Merkel, Joby Henthorn. They lifted with us every day this past winter, and we had two others come in when they weren't bowling on their days off, and they would lift with us. And that was Bryson Burkhart and Coleman Ritchie. Those guys were with us on and off all the time. Yeah. And Joby has what he came to us in December. What he was a good little ball player. He was a good pony league player. All right. You know what I'm saying? Like rec league, pony league player. He's developed, he had a change up, but he didn't have a curveball. He's developed his curveball. He's developed his mechanics, and he's gained velocity. His fielding has gotten 10 times better. And it's just my assistant coach, who's actually my cousin, told me, he said, Joby is the prime example of what consistently showing up and just doing your job every day, what it'll do for you. Right. And he's gotten a little bit faster, just working. And his dad actually told me, he's a big 4-H guy, and I let him go to present a 4-H thing opening weekend. And I'm like, yeah, it's cool, man. Go present in state or go judge the animals, whatever you were doing. Yeah. And his dad said, I appreciate that. He's like, this kid's ate up with baseball, and I've never seen anything like it. And I said,
that's awesome.
Or just, he's probably never heard anybody talk about baseball like we do, because we're ate up with it. The whole staff is. The boys love this time of year, and we have a ton of fun, and we cut up, and when it's time to get busy, we get busy.
Yeah. So
one freshman I do want to mention is Preston Benninger. Preston Benninger he hadn't played since 6th grade. And a lot of it's kind of with location where he lives. It's just, it's a lot of time. He's got a couple of siblings. That kid right there is something special.
Okay.
And it's just, whenever you see a kid play baseball, then you're like, okay, he's got it. He has it.
Yeah.
Everything. As a freshman, 15-year-old kid, by the time he's 18 years old, if I don't have him going somewhere, that's on me. That's on me, because he should have everybody. He should be beating recruiters off of him with a stick. I mean, the kid is unreal. And Max Demchek, we got some other kids there in the freshman class that are just coming along. They're doing really good. And that's another piece of our core. So
nice. So let's talk about your area down there. Like you said, you got guys that bowl, you got guys that 4-H. What is your youth program like down there in Monroe Central area? It's Woodsfield, right? Woodsfield area.
Yeah,
so
Woodsfield.
What is youth like down there as far as competitive? Do you have a lot of travel kids? Like, what's the makeup?
So it really just depends what level and what set of parents are involved. We kind of get it in waves. I actually had this conversation today with Mark Romick at our Kiwanis luncheon. It's unique. So the last class that the class that graduated in 23, and this group of seniors this year played a lot of travel ball. Okay. Do I think it made a ton of difference? A little bit. Fundamentally, yes. As far as receiving coaching and kind of getting that buy-in back on what we're expecting, that's where there was a little overlap. This group of seniors has done a good job, because they know this is the way coach wants it. That's the way our parents are going to tell us. That's how it needs to be done. That's the way. There's no contestability there, or anything like that. But the last group, the highly talented kids, we sent 2 of them to college. One's at Wheeling, got redshirted this year. Had another commit to Salem. He backed out, took a year off. He's going to hockey. So there's a time and place for travel ball, and I think it's a good spot. But the other thing is whenever you get out of there, you got to learn how to do it the way your coach wants you to do it, because the other way you did it when you were 13, 14 may not have worked. This isn't It's probably not going to work at the high school level, because now you're playing 18-year-olds. And that kid, like I said, those boys had a ton of talent, and they were good players, and I'd never take anything away from them, but that was like the big overlap. Maybe a little too much contestability there, or questioning. Primarily right now we're looking at rec league. The rec league isn't bad. We put them in the OVAC league to be a little more competitive, because that's where travel ball hasn't really been full-fledged kicked off. And the junior high team, we play the same kids we're going to play the next 4 years anyway, or 5 years. So they get to see those teams that they usually normally play just in the summer. Now they get to see everybody together, right? So Shady Side, I use them as a good example. They always have a couple kids that are going travel ball here and there, or Wheeling Central going to have a couple going here and there. Then we play them with all of our guys that aren't doing travel ball, or not picked up by a team, or not doing showcases, whatever, in that 8th grade class. Everybody's together. So now they get to see the whole team. It's not just Pony League over the summer. Right. So OJC is a really good league we do, and then we do Pony League for the kids. That's more developmental. We're going to include, for me, I would include far more kids in it. I'd probably bat 12, 13 kids in that. You're just going to see a different level of competition, a little more inclusion, getting guys rotated in and out. Right. We're not counting subs, kind of treating it like a JV game. Yeah. If I'm being honest. And then in the OVAC league, I'm going to treat it like varsity season. They end up getting about 40 games in. So they get their ball in, but we peek down every once in a while just to make sure they're doing what they need to be doing, and sometimes they are and sometimes they aren't. Just is something we got to get a handle on, but nobody really steps up to coach. And I got a fellow named Greg Dalton and a couple other guys that help him out, and I said, God love you, I appreciate you doing it. Here's what I would like them to do. And I emailed them a whole list of just basic fundamental things that I would want them to do, and then situational work, because that's the way it's going to be whenever they get to high school. It's the exact same way we're going to coach it, so they're ahead of the curve. They get through some of it, but some of it's gibberish to them too. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we're working with some dads that are just helping out right now, and that's fine. I'll live with that. But here in the next couple of years, as the more we graduate out of the program and as they finish up in school, if they decide to come home, I got alumni that'll come back in and step in, and any and all questions can get directed to me, so they don't have to deal with that.
Right.
Parents can, they just want the best for their kids, and I totally get it. I understand that wholeheartedly, but at the same time, if we got kids out there that can't play catch and can't catch a fly ball, you're going to be at that ball field for 5 hours.
Yep.
And nobody wants to do that.
The situation where we're at right now here in Toronto, just with junior high, is, I got to be with Coach Perkins and them for 2 years. So I got to learn a whole lot of how to manage the game and different things and stuff like that. But with, Braxton being in that junior high program, I take a step back. Now I'm coaching the junior high kids practices. So they're getting the high school level practice. And like you said, it's a little bit gibberish sometimes. They may not understand it. Eventually this will click for them. But right now we're trying to set the standard for them, so that way when they hit their freshman year, it's not gibberish when Coach Perkins says,
right,
hey, let's go work on first and third situations, or let's, do situational base running, or whatever the case may be. They're already going to know how to do it. Hopefully.
Right.
Hopefully.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, our 9 and 10, what is it? No, 11 and 12. Our 11 and 12, I think they have it's not, the guy that does it's Joe Kress. I think that's his age group. It might be 9 and 10. I can't quite remember exactly, but there's a group there right below the junior high. I think they're in 5th or 6th grade. They have 10 or 11 kids on the team that have been together forever. They don't do travel tournaments. They're not going to go 4, 5, 6 hours, every weekend, but they do a lot of all-star tournaments.
You know what? I might have his name for you, because I think he coaches Woodsfield Storm.
Yeah, the Storm. Yeah, that's him. I know. Yep. But the Storm group, those guys, those kids, they all came to our baseball clinic that we held, our camp that we did 3 weeks ago. I think the majority of that team was there, and there's a ton of talent right there. I mean, nice. Just a ball of it, and we know it's coming.
Just got to be patient.
Yes, we know it's coming, and on the same side of it, once they get into high school, and I'm not saying we know more, but they got to go to the coaches then. Yeah. There's no more, looking through the fence, and that's kind of what we had. Those were some of the issues we've had in the past. And
I'll be honest with you, I'm ready to be the dad that sits behind the fence. I'm tired of coaching him.
Yeah. Well, that's the way my old man was. That's the way my dad was. My dad coached me until I was 15 years old. We did Pony League. And I was 15, and that was the last year. The last year I ever played, there was 2 girls on the team that were really good. Actually, they were competitive. They didn't have a softball team.
Yeah.
So they were like, "Hey, can we play?" And we needed a couple more kids on the team, so Dad took them in. We almost won the league. And they played in our left and right field, and they were studs. And they hit the ball good. I mean, and both of those girls ended up coming in high school and was part of the state championship team in 2003 that Monroe Central had. Went 31 or 33 and up.
Oh, wow.
So that's what I'm saying. I mean, we had some talent that played in that Pony League, but it got to the point, Dad, he just he told me, he said, I can't coach anymore. He said, I think he was saying I was being a smart aleck, but he's like, more than me at this point. And I'm like, I never know more than your dad, and he's like, more than me. He said, you always got something to say. He's like, I can't coach anymore. All right. I just spent a season at the high school level. So if he said something and I didn't think it meshed, I'm like, it's probably not right, Dad. He didn't like that, but
no, well, I mean, that's the great thing about those coaches clinics that Ohio puts on at the beginning of the year is, they bring in so many different speakers that, if you had a question about something, there's a clinic somewhere or seminar going on in one of those hotel rooms that you can ask the right question to figure it out. So,
oh, for sure.
I enjoyed
The
going
clinic,
there.
the High clinic is awesome. And I mean, you just got to be part of the Baseball Coaches Association to do it. I'll put you on. I mean, if we need to say you're on the staff just to get you up there to watch, I mean, just go do it. I mean, it's full of different things. Now, some of the college coaches, it's hard to listen to them because they're telling you and they're watching these drills and you're like, dude, these guys all mash. Like, you get to hand pick these cats. But you come down here to Woodsfield, all right, where we border, where we got a 3 high school district. All right. Then we got the only STEM school in the area, 20 miles away in Shenandoah. You got a really competitive football team over in Caldwell. Then you got Barnesville, who's good at everything.
Yeah.
And then you got St. Clair. I mean, St. Clairsville's a little deep out of the way. Then you get down into like the Belmont County area of the district. You got Shadyside there too.
Shadyside. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then some of the kids that are in the Skyview area, if Frontier wants to get a burr in their hind end and get really good and get advanced or use the open enrollment to their advantage, because I know a lot of schools do it. I think it's a waste of time. Kid wants to come in and play, let's go. I shouldn't have to talk you into doing it.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. I'm not here I did sales for 8 years. I'm not going to sell the school. You're either going to come here with your buddies and be part of it, or you're going to go chase something else somewhere else. Whatever you decide to do is great. If I see you in the spring, awesome.
I grew up in an area where whatever school district you lived in, and that's the school you had to play for. Mm-hmm. You didn't have open enrollment. You didn't have any of the stuff that you can do in Ohio. And even for West Virginia, with having the you get to go leave your home school for one time, and then you get a free go back if you don't like it. Like that was never an option for us.
No.
I think Garland ISD allowed you to pick what high school you wanted to go to. So it seemed like, I'm not saying this is true, but it seemed like all the football players in Garland ISD went and played for Garland. The baseball players went to South Garland, and then the basketball players went to North Garland. It's just how it flowed out for the most part. It felt like so. This is different for me. It's also different in the fact that you can be a non-teacher and be a coach, like a head coach.
Yeah.
Like that's different for me as well. So when I realized that, my eyes kind of lit up and was like, so that's an option? And they're like, as long as the teacher doesn't bid for the job, yeah, that's an option. I was like, well,
yeah. Yep. Cool. Well, even within our district, I was, like I said, I was in insurance whenever I applied and got the job. When even if a district employee were to offer in on the job or bid on the job, they're not guaranteed the job anymore. Years past, that was the case. If you were going up, if you were a school employee or non-district employee, and a district employee decided, hey, I want to coach baseball, you were kind of spinning your wheels in the mud. But that was years ago, and that's changed quite a bit. I love that it's changed. Our head football coach is not a district, employee outside of coaching. Matter of fact, the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator are the only ones that are district employees there, and they I think it kind of brings in a different element as well. Whenever you have it on, because the kids don't see all day,
right?
Which it makes that 2 hours, 2.5 hours, however long practice is, even more important. And you have to build those relationships. I feel like you got to talk to everybody. You just to say, hey, kind of make yourself visible. And then when you are at the games of other sports, you get to see your guys and they'll stand there and talk to you a little bit. When I was in school, I seen our head baseball coach and our head football coach every day.
Yeah.
And one of them was the guidance counselor and the other one was the AD, which was Jay Costa, was the football coach. And if you saw him, you was probably in trouble. And I had a couple times, because that's where he did in-school suspension, especially if you were an athlete. He'd make you sit there in front of him or right outside of his office and make you write an essay about what you did. how you could be a better human by not doing it, and how you could prevent doing it in the future. And if he didn't like it, he'd have you write it again. You know?
Oh man, I appreciate that though. That's good.
Yeah. I mean, I only had to write one essay from what I remember, and it's he kind of looked at it. He's like, "You can go back to class now." Thank God. I'm sitting there with my hand, I'm all carpal tunneled up. I'm like, because we weren't typing anything. There's no tablets or anything, so you had to hand write it, and it had to be legible. He wouldn't cut you any slack. And Coach Winland, which is Junior Winland, he was our athletic director, and I think he was an intervention specialist of some sort. He worked with our I don't know how you would say it now. I wouldn't say handicap, but our mentally challenged group of kids there, and he always had them, doing something, and you would see him, and that was our relationship with those guys. If you played baseball, I got to know all them kids great because those are Coach Winland's group of guys. You got to stop by and say hi. You got to say hi to Coach. But even back then, I couldn't ever recall as a high school kid just standing and not rubbing elbows, but standing having a conversation with my coach any longer than 30 seconds. I couldn't have imagined doing it. Could we have? More than likely.
Probably.
Unless they were once they were done asking questions about us, they kind of knew that we were uncomfortable. These kids now, they seem to be very comfortable with us.
Probably a little too comfortable sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah, we kind of got to reel them in a little bit and be like, hey, I need you to walk away now. And it's not that you're overstaying the welcome, but our guys that do a great job, our seniors, they're just easy kids to talk to. They take the coaching, they just take the pointers, the recruiting process for a couple guys. I'm just like, hey, I don't want you to stress about it. If I need something from you, I'll message you. Hey, do you care if I share this with Worcester, or do you care if I share this with so-and-so?
Right.
Absolutely not. Whatever you need, just go ahead and send it to them. So I'm kind of, trying to do that for them guys as well. But just the comfort level, but also the respect level now is just, the respect level used to be it. I was never comfortable around any of my high school coaches.
There was one high school coach. It was my senior year. His name is Tim Arden. He's now the head coach at Tyler Legacy out in East Texas. He was a basketball coach, so I had him for basketball. He was a baseball coach, so I had him for baseball. And then we also went to the same church.
You've seen him a lot.
I saw Coach Arden a lot. So, but there was still always that respect issue. I didn't like talking to my coaches for the most part, other than practice.
Mm-hmm.
You still looked at them as coaches. You didn't see them as your friend. So, now we're Facebook friends. So we see each other. I see what he's got going on. He sees what I got going on. So the relationship is still, pretty positive. But back then, I'd see him. I'd go the other way. I didn't want to talk to any of them.
Right. Yeah, same way. Now it's like, hey, coach, come here. Like, come over my way, but whatever. That's not. But I don't hate it. I'm 36 years old. I'm not one of the kids, and they know that. But as far as like understanding some of the things, like I don't know. You probably you coach a group of kids, but you've probably heard of Sketch, the streamer, the guy that says, "What's up, brother?" You never heard of that?
What's up, bro?
No. Okay. Well, that's all that they say at practice. You just hear him quoting this guy, and he's a streamer. And I've seen him on TikTok and YouTube and stuff. He's funny, mildly inappropriate, but he is funny. And you just sit there and you hear him like quoting it through the day. And I might hit him with one. And, what's up, brother? Out of nowhere. And like one of our boys hit a home run, and he plays Madden on Twitch or whatever he streams on.
Yeah.
And he always goes, check Tuesday. So that was one of our seniors hit a home run the other day. I told him he was crossing third, and I went, Tuesday. just to have fun with him. And he was trying to be serious about it. I'm like, dude, you just hit a bomb. I mean, have fun with it.
Right.
And he was giggling the whole way in the home plate. But I didn't think he, we joke around with it every once in a while, but I don't think he was ready for me to actually do it on the field.
Yeah.
It was
I got Don Boucher last year with the what's that Netflix show with the kids that go treasure hunting? The
Outer Banks.
Outer Banks. I got him with a Bring It On Home Don B when he hit one. He hit third base and Bring It On Home Don B.
Yeah.
And I got him with one of those. So that was
we heard that a few times last year. Just in general. I just hear it out of the dugout every once in a while, and I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. I didn't know what it was from until my wife and I started to watch the series again, and I'm like, that's where that came from. These guys are wild, man. Like, well, and I'm just thinking they're coming up with it on their own, but there's no shot. No shot. They're copying just like we copy the different ways of coaching. There's different ways to have fun, I guess.
I'm a big Mark Paul guy on TikTok. That's who I follow on TikTok.
Oh yeah, MP3.
Yeah, MP3.
Yeah.
So one last thing before we get into our rapid fire, you sent me a friend request on Facebook, and obviously I do what all girls do, and I went creeping on your Facebook. I see you're a big fisherman.
I do fish.
We might have to go out and do a little challenge here.
Hey,
what's the biggest bass you've caught? No fisherman tells now.
All right, 7-8.
7-8.
I believe is the one on the. I'm in jeans and a camo jacket.
Okay. So
well, I did catch one that was 7-2 in the fall. I would have loved to have caught her in the spring because oh my! But that was in a strip. I caught the one in a jacket. I'm in a camo jacket. I caught that on a lake. So that's like okay, but the one it's older, so I'm like a lot skinnier, but it just it went from shoulder to shoulder.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and I caught it in an old strip mine.
Oh wow!
Giant.
So you got me 2 weeks late because my Facebook actually got hacked 2 weeks ago and I lost everything. So I have to go off of my dad's profile, or even my wife may have some of some fish that we've caught. Through the past. I think my biggest was 10-2. I caught it at Lake Fork, obviously.
Oh yeah, Lake Fork's full of giants.
Yeah, if you know Lake Fork, that's where you go in Texas for that.
I caught mine at Slope Creek, Barnesville Reservoir 4. Okay. Yeah, it's 40-some acres.
I'm about an hour away from Lake Fork growing up, so like.
Oh my God! You had a great childhood.
Oh yeah. Oh
yeah.
Yes, childhood.
That was awesome.
Spring breaks were amazing.
Yeah, so, no doubt. That's great.
What's your favorite lure to use then?
So, have you ever heard of Seneca Lake?
Yeah.
All right. So Seneca is where I spent most of my last 2 summers. Well, actually, probably 3 or 4, but the last 2, I figured out what to throw over there. I had buddies. Okay. One of my buddies gave me some help, and he's going to be mad if he ever sees this. But green pumpkin tube.
Okay.
Texas rigged. I love throwing that, just beating it off the rocks. But I figured out another lure, which is the VMC. Oh, it's not VMC. Who is that? Missile jigs. Mike Iaconelli, micro jig. Yeah. But he's saying, but the football head. You can't get anything else. Like for whatever reason, like not a swimmer, but like the football head. Just a football head, and they're probably about this big. But I put a little rage claw on the rage. I think it's a rage crawl. Okay. But it's a Ned rig. And I put that on the back of it, and they're all green pumpkin. And when I catch them over there, if the fish are throwing up crawfish, that lure does not come off.
Nice.
That lure does not come off.
I'm a chartreuse guy.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah. I like
chartreuse. Yeah, so I'm not a big. If I'm on the river, I'll throw something bright. But up here in these other lakes, and you can do the same thing at Salt Fork. You can do the same thing. You can get in the smallmouth at Tappan and Salt Fork. If they're a little bit. They're unicorns at Seneca. Okay. But the tubes are good for a tube is a tube. I mean everything will be a tube. But those little micro jigs, I've had a lot of luck with them. You can get them on Tackle Warehouse. The problem is Iaconelli is no longer, he's moving sponsors.
Okay.
So you got to get them now, or who knows if they'll, what they'll be the next time, or if he'll just keep them with Missile or what. But
right.
I think it's Missile. But either way, that's what I use. That's my go-to. Now, if I'm in a pond and just messing around, I'm throwing a buzz bait until my friggin' arm falls off.
Oh, buzz bait!
Just because it's fun.
I like the little hula poppers.
Yeah,
the torpedoes.
Like a chug bug.
Yeah, nothing beats a top water rig, in my opinion.
No, nothing ever.
So are you a point guy? You a deep water guy? You a pier guy?
Point guy.
Point guy.
Point guy. I don't mind fishing docks, but I feel like you can find a much larger amount of fish if you fish off of a point. So if you go to a main lake and you work through the bluffs and everything like that, and figure out where you're at depth wise, if you find them in 8 to 10 on the right side of that point, there's a good chance they're going to be on the left side of that point too.
Absolutely.
Especially if you can find the current. So that's what I tend to do. And I got a buddy that I'll fish with him, and he drives me nuts. He won't parallel the bank. and I'm in the back of the boat anyway, so I'm already at a disadvantage. And he won't parallel the bank. And I'm like, dude, I cannot fish. He's like, this boat's big enough. You can come up here and fish. I'll throw one out, and then he parallels the boat. Like, dude, you're not like, you're a good fisherman, but I'm a pretty good stick myself. Do you mind if we both fish?
Right.
But we end up arguing more than we end up catching fish. But but we do that. That's what we do. We'll fish the different, where the drops are and everything, and we'll try to. He's got the big high dollar graphs, and we can see the grass lines. We see the grass lines anywhere in those lakes. It's a wrap.
Yeah,
we can pretty well find whatever we need to look for, but they tend to be a little deeper in those spots and a little more challenging to find. But that's the fun part of a tournament,
Yeah, that's the whole point. Best eating, walleye or crappie?
That's tough. Where's the walleye from, and what time of the year?
I would say, let's say, I don't know.
We'll say Lake Erie.
I only catch crappie out of Highlandtown, and then I've caught crappie out at State Lake.
Okay, we'll go. I'll say this: walleye out of Erie when the water's under 50 degrees is the best eating fish that you'll ever have. Now, if you get them over 50, the meat starts to get a little loose. I learned that from a guy up there talking one day, and I said, there's no way. I don't believe a word coming out of your mouth. He just, ended up cooking a little bit up. We tried it.
Yeah.
We tried it, walleye, or not walleye, saw a guy out of Seneca, which a little pencil fish. It's not going to, you don't get a whole lot of meat out of it. But it's a close, texture as far as that. But it was like 70-degree temperatures in the water. It was mushy.
Yeah.
Not delicious like it was. And we had the walleye that was out of 50-degree water, it was like 40-some degrees that day. And because we were up there smallmouth fishing with jerk baits, and that walleye is pretty good whenever it's cold. Like when the water temperature is cold, the meat's just different. It just seems like it's more fresh. It's just, for whatever reason, I don't know, but it is very good. I'd say walleye. Crappie's good too, but crappie's good any time of the year.
Yeah,
so
I agree. I'll be honest with you. I've never been walleye fishing. I've never even had walleye, and we have the Stratton Dam down here, and I've never gone down there to fish it at all. I just, for whatever reason, I want to go lake fishing. I don't want to go in the river. No,
the river's it's a different breed. I wouldn't eat anything out of the Ohio River. No, I wouldn't. No, I mean, now what is cool with the dams, pretty much at any lock and dam you get into, you can get into stripers if they're running. Yeah. And if you can get into some of them hybrid stripers,
that's nice fishing there.
It's just fun.
We would go to Lake Tawakoni or Lake Texoma. Some of the biggest stripers you've seen, hands down. And they'll put once they get you on the fish, just hold on.
You're on them. Yeah, you're on them.
That's good.
I mean, there's they're schooling fish, and once if they're in a feeding frenzy, that's when it's fun. Because I got into them in North Carolina one year, and it was just insanity. I mean, it was one after another. I think I caught 20, and then the guy just he was like, "You care if I cast a couple? This is a pretty good one." I said, "Come on, let's go. I mean, let's have fun." I was like, "You're guiding me, but I know what I'm doing. You don't have to like coach me through how to throw this spinning rod. So you're good.
Yeah,
Let me handle this." But it was fun. We threw a pop bar. I think I went to, by the time I was done, the 2 treble hooks, the one on the back was missing one, and the one on the front was missing 2. 2 of the hooks. That's where they just mauled it, and it was a lot of the color was going off of it too.
That raw thumb feeling when you get your thumb and you can see the teeth mark, dude. Isn't that the best? That's how you know you don't get to lie and say we didn't catch anything. As soon as you see that raw thumb, you know it's a good day.
For sure.
So this last segment here is going to be rapid fire questions. It's going to be sponsored by Corey's HVAC, local here to Toronto and surrounding areas for all your heating and air conditioning issues, services, repairs, and installations. Call Corey at 740-317-3649. Tell him Jeremy sent you. Pre-game meal, Coach. What is your go-to pre-game meal?
Food-wise, I tend to just drink a Red Bull, if I'm being honest.
Drink a Red Bull?
Yeah, I'll slam a 12-ouncer. I seen Justin Turner do it one year, I think, with the Dodgers, where he slammed it off his cleat and shotgunned it, the Red Bull before he went in. That was a thing for a couple years, and then I remember told the boys this year, I said, I will not do that. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm 36 years old. I can't be doing that. I got 2 kids. I'm not doing that anymore. But I tend not to eat anything before a game, and I sip on a Red Bull while we're hanging out.
Okay. Yeah. So Red Bull, what's your in-game snack or drink while you're there? I mean, if you've got a Red Bull, I'm sure you're probably not eating or drinking anything else during the game other than probably a water.
Yeah, I'll slam probably 4 or 5 waters through the game. For whatever reason, I like to stress out whenever we're playing. I pace a lot, so I slam waters. I pick up a bag of seeds. I had nerd ropes or the nerd clusters.
Yeah,
they didn't last very long. I think they made it 2 innings. I just kept coming back to them. I'm like, you guys need to get one of these. These are good. And I was passing them out was going to pass them out to the players, but I went ahead and kept them to myself. But they're not bad. I think just a seed. I like the taco. We always seem to have a plethora of taco seeds just sitting around the dugout. So whoever's bag is closest, I try to ramsack it.
Gone. So you get the luxury of actually having sunflower seeds. You know, you don't get to eat them when you're on turf.
Yeah, well, I wish to God we didn't. I'll tell you that right now. I'll take no seeds for the rest of my life to have, a nice standalone complex that's not tied into the football field. And I think someday it'll eventually be here. But we'll do whatever we have to do at Memorial Park to keep it the looking as good as it does whenever it's dry. And we've done a lot of work to it. But I'll stick with the seeds for now. I can chew bubble gum though. I can chew a lot of gum. I'm responsible with it. So if we ever get turf, I'll just probably stick with like a Bubblicious or something.
You won't get that Clint Hurdle cheeks to go with it?
Probably will. I'll be knotted up. Yeah, that'd probably be good for the boys. I'll say less.
Right.
Like TMJ.
What is your go-to song? You're hitting the road, you're going fishing, you're going to the ballpark. What's a song that gets you amped up that you can listen to nonstop?
Oh, see, that's hard. Depends on the mood I'm in. I would say if you ask my girls, they would say Enter Sandman. They don't know the name of the song. They just know it's Metallica.
Right.
And every game that we went to and practice we would have Enter Sandman on, and it would be, she blew out a speaker in my truck, ripping it. But my kids sing along to the whole song. They're 5 and 3, so it's hilarious.
Nice.
But if we're going anywhere, and if I put it on, the Return of the Mac, like I can listen to that. The whole time, which probably surprises a lot of folks, but I would be more than thrilled to have that for sure.
So we already know your hobby. You're going to be out on a lake somewhere if you get a day off. Here's the one question for you. Would you have rather won a World Series championship as a player at Bethany, or states with Monroe Central as a coach?
Well, obviously, as a coach, it would have been fun.
Yeah.
I'd do one thing. If I could change that question, then I'm going to.
Okay, go ahead.
I would have rather won state as a player at Monroe Central because we had the team to do it.
Okay.
We had the team to do it my junior year. We were senior driven. We had 4 good arms, not good arms. We had 4 really good arms.
Yeah.
One was a freshman. 2 of them were seniors, and then 2 of us were juniors. And I pitched mainly in relief that year. And man, we hit, I think we looked at the stats one year. I think as a team we hit, and what stinks is everybody says, you played at Monroe Central, or you got a short porch and left. Yeah, we got a long porch and right though. All right. And center field gets deep fairly quick. But there was that year we hit 36 home runs as a team. And we didn't just hit them at home. We hit them everywhere.
Right.
We hit them everywhere. And the buzzsaw we ran into was Garraway, who was kind of like Harrison Central last year. Not very similar, but they didn't have all the seniors. They were all juniors, sophomores, and juniors. And they were good next year too, but Tusky beat them. And that's who we played in the district championship. And but I would say, if you take the coaching out of it, I would have rather won states as a player at Monroe Central in either 05 or 06, or make a deeper run than districts, because once you get to regionals, you never know what's going to happen.
Right.
But I'd say winning it as a player would have been unreal, because that was 2 years prior. Softball went to state championship, won at 33-0, and I tell you what, you could have robbed the whole town. You could have, you could have robbed the whole time. There was nobody here. Everybody was at the softball games, and we made a deal out. I mean, it was a big deal. It was just, one of them things. It was the first time Monroe Central went to a state champion. We had our success in football, but when the softball team made that run, it was like, this is for real. Like they're probably going to win it, and they did, and rightfully so. They were an unbelievable team, and we thought, all those girls were still in school and they were classmates of ours, and we were all friends, and they had just had another good season. We're like, we're about to do it too. We believed that that's where we should have been, but Garraway, they 10-runned us in the district championship. 10-0. But,
it happens.
I think making a run, I really, what's incredible about our division, and it was like this for basketball this year too. If we can get by Highland, anything's possible. And I think that goes with, and I'm not going to speak for Coach Perkins or anything like that, but they chased them last year and felt it.
We did.
We did. I watched that game, and that was something I didn't expect to see. And I think I said something to Perkins about that over the summer, and I said I didn't see that happen. He's like, I didn't either, but that's the way baseball goes sometimes. And that game could have been completely flip-flopped, because there's that senior class that's at Toronto now, accompanied by a couple of them juniors, is a very good ball team. That's a very good sound ball team, good pitching. They have everything to do it. That's why we play it. We got to see where we stack up, So I think if you can get out of the East District, you're going to make a run.
It seems like the team that comes out of the East District seems to go and do their thing at states and regionals and everything like that, just because of how battle-tested they are. And I know for a fact, now I looked at the rankings, that Newark Catholic is not in our division anymore. They bumped up. So, we don't have to see them. If you do happen to get by Highland, you don't have to see Newark Catholic. But they're still White Oak. They're still, I don't even know how you say, is it Russia or Russia?
That's all I just call it Russia. Yeah, Russia's up there. They were there in basketball too. Yeah. I mean, and I believe they're up towards Lima, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I worked up there for a month doing insurance, and I just drove around and I watched, just looking and stopping in like mom and pop restaurants here and there. They're ate up with baseball up there, the small school sports and stuff. And like then they're showing like, hey, so and so was drafted, and I'm like, what division is this? You look them up. Holy cow, it's Division III, Division IV. This guy was drafted, but you see, it's just a big cluster of little schools.
Yep.
But they're just not as far apart as the OVAC per se. But I mean, it's just a big area. You know,
Right.
it's pretty cool to see, and you understand it after I left there. I'm like, no wonder they're good. You know, they play a lot of ball up here. That's competitive. Yeah, the eastern part, southeast part of Ohio is not very rarely going to travel 4 hours northwest.
Right.
I mean, there's nothing up there. There's nothing up. Toledo, not a super appealing place to go.
No. Dayton, really not that appealing either.
Yeah,
I mean, you can go to Columbus and you can go to Cincinnati. I mean, we saw my first year, we went to Chillicothe. We saw Cincinnati Hills Christian Academy in 2022. And that team was absolutely loaded.
Yeah.
They had dudes that were I think all 9 starters were Division I players, like already like signed and everything.
The Richmond Heights of baseball season.
Oh man, they jumped on us. I think it was like 8-0 real quick. Their pitcher was just chirping the whole time. Their backups, when they came in, were chirping the whole time. And then finally, I think about the 6th inning, we put some runs on the board. We started, getting a little swagger to us. And they still 10-runned us, but it took them to the 7th inning to do it.
Yeah.
But I think they were number 2 or 3, so they were ranked really high. And then they just, I don't know if something happened in the all playoffs and they just fell apart or what, but they didn't win states, and I was shocked.
Yeah. Well, hey, you're only as good as your best arm that day in the high school Ohio high school playoffs. I'm hoping with this division change that we can see a change with how the section or the region, however they do that, whatever you want to call it, the district, the region, however. I'd like to see a change to a series, 3-game series. I'd love to see that. Some schools can do it, some schools can't. But hey, if it's mandatory, I bet you everybody can do it.
They'll figure it out.
They'll figure it out. I bet you're going to, some coaches are going to stop throwing, 4 guys, 85 pitches, complete 85 to 120 pitches every other game. They're going to start developing guys, and that's something we do, but it's not something everybody does. And it's alarming because some of these kids want to play after high school.
Yeah. You got guys throwing 120 pitches in one game. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Well,
now, Coach, I can't say we've never done that.
Listen,
we did it in both playoff games last year, but I needed a fork truck and a semi to get the guys off the mound. There was no getting them out until they reached 125, and they were like, all right, now I have to come out. Yeah. If you don't, you ain't throwing in 2 days if we win anyhow.
All right. Well, Coach, this has been fun. I really appreciate you jumping on with me. By far the longest interview, that's for sure. We're at an hour and 22 minutes, so I think fishing kind of took a lot away there. But that's all right. That's why we do these things. That's why I'm trying to develop relationships with everybody and all the coaches in the OVAC. So I really do appreciate you coming on. I hear some thunder and lightning coming on. My daughter's coming down here a couple of times to check on me. She doesn't really like the thunderstorm, so I'm going to get up there and check on her.
Okay. Yeah, probably same. I mean, I've seen a little bit of it, but hey, man, best of luck to you with the travel ball. I hope I seen some pictures there on Facebook that the field was underwater. So
I just got a text message again that said it's not looking too good down there right now as well. So
don't imagine it is. I don't think it's looking good anywhere. But hey, we may be up in Toronto tomorrow. If you're not playing or anything, swing by. We'll do a formal meet and greet, and I'll shake your hand. And, you want one of these hats?
Hell yeah, I want one.
I'll bring you one of those.
Let's see.
I got a pile of them. I got a bunch of these. A couple of these left. I got one of these.
I like that one.
Yeah. All right. I'll bring one for you. If we play, I'll bring one up to you.
I'll bring my stash too. We'll do a hat trade off.
That's cool. Hey, we always do 2 or 3 hats a year. I don't know why we do it, but kind of a competition now. Like, can we do one better than last year? And we seem to get better every year. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I'll bring you a lid for sure.
Awesome. I'll see you tomorrow, Coach. I'll come up and introduce myself for sure.
Sounds good, Jeremy. You take care, man.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for having me on. Yep.
Thank
bye.
You.